welcome to the Thursday edition of the NBA Slate Starter Podcast. I'm Eric, joined with my buddy Ryan as we break down Thursday's 6-game NBA DFS slate. I feel like I should be doing better than I am right now with my lineups. I felt like I was kind of on top of it with a lot of things. I had a lot of Brandon Ingram, a lot of Zion Williamson, a lot of Domantas Sabonis, who was smashing and then wasn't smashing so much. I was light on Brown, lighter on Tatum than most were, had all the Jared Allen. But Jeff Teague, of all the people on planet Earth to really burn me on this slate, I did not expect Jeff Teague to be the one. Did I make a mistake by having 0% of him?
I don't think it was a mistake of having 0% of him. It really depends on how many minutes you projected him.
16.
I had projected him just in the low 20s. I think because he was the min, 3K does a lot for you over there on DK, and he was a min on near the min on FanDuel. I liked it just because of a potential pivot off of some of those guys, of the hyper chalk guys of 3K Spurs guys, and
Tony Snell,
yes,
Steve Mikhailuk, yeah, all those guys.
All those guys, yeah. And I think there was a pathway for him to do really well against this Atlanta Hawks team. So obviously a lot of things worked out in his end, as any guy, anytime a min price guy puts up north of 30 points, a lot of things end up working out. It worked out for him. And I don't think it was a mistake. I do think maybe overreacting to Aldridge not starting and being overexposed to Lucas Samanic and Trey Lyles like I was, maybe was a mistake on my end.
Yeah. Well, you had 40% of Jeff Teague. So if we could just do this with our lineups, things would be very, very nice right now. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be too pretty when we end with this. Also, THT ends up starting tonight of all nights. Like, come on, Lakers. I hate you guys. As if I couldn't hate them anymore. At least I think my -8 ticket that I got on Utah, that's looking pretty good at the moment. So, anywho, you guys don't care about that. You care about Thursday. So let's get to it. Get to that bottom bar. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all the other content at Awesemo is going live. You ready to get going, my dude?
Let's ride.
Top end of point guard. So we got an interesting position today. Over here, Luka Doncic, 10,900, and James Harden, 10,800. Both are very good at fantasy basketball. Both are coming off 60-plus fantasy points over on DraftKings. Luka Doncic, a little less. So he was sitting up in the just above 11K, I believe, last slate, sitting at 11.2. Yep. So price is down to 10.9, if you want to say that. You're getting the Ben Simmons defense discount, per se. And then James Harden up against Orlando. I'm just going to play James Harden all the time with Kevin Durant out. 10.8 is still arguably too cheap for a guy who has a crazy assist rate, makes triple doubles look very, very easy. It's absurd. Then Russ Westbrook, 9,500 there. We have him for Washington. It looks fantastic and lovely. And then I'm just going to throw him in because he's going to be the chalk of the position tomorrow. We've got Elfrid Payton, doubtful. Derrick Rose season is in effect. Talk to me about point guard.
Yeah, obviously those studs are all in play. It's tough to say which one stands out the most, but I think Kyrie Irving at that price tag definitely stands out to me. 8,900 on DK, 8,800 on FanDuel definitely stands out. Obviously, you're going to like Jamal Murray's matchup versus Washington. His price tag has slowly crept up, and that's partly because of his play. Murray's been battling through injuries for a lot of this season, and the undermanned Denver team has been obviously dealing with a bunch of injuries in the backcourt, and he's been powering through, obviously putting up north of 44 fantasy points the last 5 games, I want to say, 4 games. So you're going to like this Washington matchup where he put up 59 fantasy points last time he played them on the 17th. That's definitely good. Obviously, Russell Westbrook on the other side of things is definitely in play. We know what Russ can do when he hawks down a triple-double. It hasn't happened as frequently in Washington, but definitely in his bag. And John Morant's price tag definitely stands out. And now going to Derrick Rose versus Sacramento, I think definitely should be considered, especially at that price tag of 4,600. And there's a chance he might start. And if he starts, you're going to like that quite a bit. He was definitely great last time against Golden State, put up 37.5 fantasy points. It's his best game as a Knick since he got traded there. We'll see what Thibodeau does. Maybe he rides Rose out for north of 30 minutes and rides out his knees like he did all of his Chicago tenure.
Yes, he sure did. Looking at the rest of the position, we saw some big ceiling games from the guys up top. I love Jamal Murray. I love De'Aaron Fox. I love going to all of those guys in that mid-range as well. I mean, point guard is just kind of a beautiful position in general. Any interest in anybody below Derrick Rose underneath that 4,600 number over on DraftKings?
Yeah, we're on DK. I think Emmanuel quickly deserves a shout out just because of the lack of potentially no Elfrid Payton. DJ Augustine has been starting. Obviously, not getting as much usage, playing alongside more minutes with Middleton and Giannis, but that price tag he can definitely pay off. But those two are the ones who stand out to me right off the bat over there in DK. Spending down on FanDuel, I think. If you think Facundo Campazzo is going to play mid-20s minutes versus this Washington team, I think we could go there over there on FanDuel. While Rose's 5,700 are much more harder to consider, and while Augustine checks in
much more harder. You are better than that. Don't do that to me. Much more harder. Okay, we're just going to go to shooting guard. You're done. You're cut off tonight at the fantasy bar. James Harden sitting at 11,200 over on FanDuel. Bradley Beal 9,800, 8,600 Paul George, and then Tyrese Halliburton coming off an absolute nuclear bomb, but now gets it's kind of like a tortoise in the hare matchup. We've got New York, huge pace up spot. Sacramento, huge pace down spot. Trying to figure out if there's like anywhere else that we can really go. I should loop in Terrence Ross, 6,200, who I thought was going to absolutely blow up the slate the other night. Didn't end up doing it necessarily, but still fantastic, 42.6. We're seeing him. He's generally a guy who's very shot volume or volume heavy, scoring dependent. That's what I was looking for, scoring dependent. And now we're seeing him kind of distribute with no point guard out there. Is he kind of like turning over a new leaf? And then talk to me about the rest of shooting guard.
Yeah, I think Terrence Ross obviously getting some extra ball handling duty with the lack of a true point guard. If you consider Carter Williams a true point guard, I think that's why I want to see he's racking up some extra peripherals, being more aggressive on the shooting end as well. And in shooting guard, we got to talk about, especially on FanDuel, James Harden, probably the highest ceiling on the slate, 11-2, has been sensational without KD. They're rolling him out in low 40 minutes. You'll take low 40 minutes of James Harden any night. Almost at any price tag. 11-2 is definitely pretty favorable. Bradley Beal, as consistent as it gets against this Denver team. He did play Denver earlier in the year. Just put up 41 fantasy points. You're going to like his shot volume, and Bradley Beal can definitely break the slate at 9,800. I think Paul George, $8,600 versus Memphis, has been solid. They've been they blew out Washington last time. That's when he played 29 minutes, was super efficient when he's on the court. Hopefully this game stays a bit closer. I think we need to talk about Buddy Hield yet again, $5,800 versus this tough Knicks matchup. When he's playing 37 minutes, obviously you want to see more shot attempts from him. But I do prefer Hield to Tyrese Halliburton. I think the savings is pretty significant on FanDuel. Over there in the lower spend down options over there in FanDuel, I think Alec Burks is 4K. I think might get some extra minutes, and Seth Curry, if he plays versus his former team, should be considered. Over there in DraftKings, obviously, Harden and Beal. Sorry, Harden doesn't have shooting guard eligibility. Kyrie does, $8,900. I like that. I think it's going to be a tough decision point between him, Bradley Beal, and Paul George. They're all in the similar price range and makes things a little more difficult. Which way to lean? I still think Kyrie stands out to me. Maybe Beal has the highest upside out of them, and then Paul George would be the contrarian play based on ownership at that price tag. And I think all the way at the bottom, Derrick Rose also has shooting guard eligibility over there in DK. How do you feel about Dante DiVincenzo, who's been playing consistent minutes anywhere from the mid-20s and low 30s, 5K as some salary relief, and any interest in going to an $8,200 Chris Middleton, who was okay last time, not great, but at $8,200 versus this Pelican team that is on a back-to-back.
They're on a back-to-back and they're playing quicker. Yeah, so definite yes to Chris Middleton. I'll have a little bit, 8,200. We'll get to him at the small forward position over on FanDuel, but then no at 5K DiVincenzo. I think you can go down a little bit lower. You've got a lot of better options to go to. Derrick Rose, 4,600 will definitely probably be my most exposed shooting guard over on DK. I don't even think it really matters if he starts or not. I really don't care. I think I might actually prefer him not to start. He played 27 minutes not starting. I mean, there's got to be room for 32, 34 there, and I would expect the ownership to maybe be a little bit compressed. Otherwise, it might get out of this world should he be announced as starting. So I guess that's just my quick take there. 4,200, Alec Burks too. No problem going there. If you were to get 28, 30 minutes of him, we saw at the beginning of the year what he's capable of. There's definitely a ceiling there with extended run. Ready to get to small forward?
Let's do it.
Beautiful. Sitting at the top end on DraftKings, Kawhi Leonard, 9,300 up against Memphis. Kevin Durant continues to be out. Ben Simmons sitting there at 8,700. Chris Middleton, 8,200, the aforementioned. And then Brandon Ingram, 7,900. Dude just gets done playing very, very well tonight. I believe he was 8,100 on DraftKings. So the inherent Milwaukee, the fast-paced $200 price tip that exists there, goes from a slower matchup against Detroit. Obviously, he played fantastic, to a faster matchup. Give it a better defense, better team, or theoretically better team, even though Milwaukee's having issues in certain aspects so far this season. But you're seeing massive minutes from Brandon Ingram. I have no problem jamming in as much of him as possible. Once again, tell me that I'm correct.
Yeah, I definitely like Brandon Ingram quite a bit. Was great today as he put up 50 fantasy points. Hey, he did it across the board. 8 assists, 7 rebounds. That's really, really nice to see Brandon Ingram keep it across the board. That price tag, $7,900. I like that quite a bit.
A little closer to your mic, my dude. A little closer.
I like paying up for Kawhi Leonard as well. $9,300, pretty solid. Ben Simmons and versus his Dallas team, I think should definitely be considered. The spend down options on the small forward spot, I think we can definitely consider Porter Jr. versus Washington. I like that quite a bit. He put up 28 fantasy points last time out. 30 fantasy points last time out. He put up 28 last time he played Washington. Definitely stands out to me. I like that quite a bit for Michael Porter Jr. against, specific because of this matchup. I think he's going to be very popular on FanDuel where he's $5,700. Definitely a solid price tag to consider. Maybe RJ Barrett gets going versus the Sacramento team. I think his minutes kind of been a little fluctuating. I want him to play above 30 minutes. So we'll see what Thibodeau ends up doing at that rotation. Spending up for Kawhi and Brandon Ingram make a ton of sense. And then Chris Middleton is still too cheap at $7,600 over there in FanDuel. And Will Barton needs to be, I think will be very popular versus Washington at $5K. Somewhere where I think he's going to play north of 30 minutes and could easily pay off that price tag quite a bit.
We have a lot of decisions to make at small forward tomorrow. So you can't pay up at every position. Kawhi Leonard, 9,700. Brandon Ingram, 8K. Chris Middleton, 7,600. I think I'll have exposure to those three a lot. I'm probably going to have 0 Evan Fournier at 7K. I'm probably going to have 0 Kyle Anderson at 6,500. But then Harrison Barnes, we did see play 36 minutes right out of the gate for Sacramento. So I that's going to take away any desire I had to play Daquan Jeffries. I had 0 already. But just letting it be known that he would be somebody at 6,200 that I've kind of like just targeted because he does play crazy large minutes. I was surprised even by that many his first game back after being out for a little while. But Michael Porter Jr. again up against Washington, 5,700 just sticks out like a sore thumb. Josh Hart, 5,400. Now that price tag went up $700, that'll be tough to get to, but Will Barton, 5K. Danny Green's a little out of play at 4,800 there on FanDuel. Josh Richardson, 4,700. Revenge narrative, Josh Richardson. A revenge narrative that makes sense as opposed to Jeff Teague's revenge narrative that made no sense to me because, I mean, he's playing less in Boston than he played in Atlanta, but so be it. Jeff Teague, I hate you. Can we go over to power forward now? Or do you have anything else you want to point out? Nicholas Batum, 4,600. That's a crazy number to be looking at, too.
Yeah, I think the two small forwards for Denver definitely stand out to me, especially on FanDuel.
Well, that was easy enough. Guys, go over to awesemo.com/joinNBA. Check out all of the packages that we have going right now. We have... God, if you guys aren't here for NBA, if you're still listening to this podcast and you haven't jumped over to check out some of our premium offerings between the Boom Bust tool, which I think I'm getting made fun of now because I bring it up every single time on the tip-off, but it's truly the best tool that exists in the fantasy sports community to be able to look at ownership, be able to look at an optimal percentage based on simulations that the number one player in the world is doing, and then getting a leverage score on the back end, being able to see players that had high leverage today, DeJounte Murray being one of them, who showed up in an optimal, like 55% of the time was having ownership just below that mark, kind of gives you a good gauge for where you need to be heavy on certain slates. If there's guys that make for good contrarian aspects, you just sort it by leverage, and you are ready to rock. Any of those positive scores are going to make for great GPP plays. So head over to awesemo.com/joinNBA. Check out that stuff because it is beautiful, and stop guessing and start winning. Top end of power forward on FanDuel. We got Giannis Antetokounmpo. What do I need to say? The dude is playing more minutes because Milwaukee's in more close games. It's really not that hard. You just try to jam him in. 11-4 is still too cheap for Giannis. Like him and Harden, I feel like on these slates, we're gonna get news that has value open up. But Derrick Rose, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Luka Doncic are gonna, and James Harden specifically. Those three, Giannis, Harden, Derrick Rose, are going to be in so many of my lineups tomorrow. I already know it. I don't really know what else I need to say. Julius Randle, 8,900 now up against Sacramento. Hard not to be interested in that too, especially if you get Elfrid Payton out. Not that you need a reason to go to Julius Randle, who has shown a ceiling, putting up double-doubles routinely. Last two he certainly has. 7 assists his last time out. A guy who just kind of does a little bit of everything. Huge minutes for this team. Zion Williamson, 8,500. All he does is produce. 49.7 on FanDuel today, up against Detroit, I believe was the number. And then Tobias Harris, 8K against Dallas. Hard to have interest with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons both there, but again, somebody who just continues to put up big fantasy totals, 46.9 against Toronto. Talk about the top end of power forward.
Yeah, Giannis, Randall, Zion, like you said, all in some potential smash spots. I think Randall definitely, so the savings off of Giannis make a ton of sense. You save $2,500 to Randall off of Giannis, but obviously the sacrifice of Giannis putting up a monster score is in play. But Randall played Sacramento earlier in, I want to say January, put up 48 fantasy points against them. So he's done well in the Sacramento matchup, like almost everyone has. It's pretty solid price tag over there in DK, $9,100. Giannis stands out at $11K. The decision point of him or Harden is something to definitely consider on tomorrow's slate. If Porzingis plays versus Philly, I think he should. I think he should be back versus Philly. We'll see what ends up happening, but I think taking some chances with him. There's some merit there as well. I think I prefer Ingram to Zion just because of the savings. It's been impressive to see what Zion's doing in the facilitating end in terms of getting assists. He's picked up, I want to say, he's gone like north of 4 or higher assists the last 5 games out. Pretty impressive to see that from Zion. From him, it was something that I think is pretty much grown as a second-year player from him. Pretty impressive stuff from the future. First-time All-Star. Other pay-down options to consider. I think Zeke Naji is going to be popular. He played 24 minutes last time. Only put up 16 fantasy points. And I guess $3,200. I would like him to put up much more than 16 fantasy points. But it's only a 6-game slate. I think people will go to him in terms of finding value outside of Derrick Rose over there on DK. Denny Abdia is $3,100.
Got to get a little closer to your mic, my dude.
Denny Abdia is $3,100, and I think definitely should be. We can definitely consider that as well. Other things on FanDuel is some spin down options. Other players, Nerlens Noel, 5,400. I like that quite a bit versus Sacramento. If he's going to play north of 30 minutes, he only played 24 last time. Maybe he was limited due to the ankle injury. I need to see the game script. Maybe it was foul trouble. I'm not too sure, but I like that price tag for him, especially versus Sacramento. Outside of that, it's tough to spend down. Maybe Maxi Kleber could be back, and I think we can definitely consider Maxi Kleber at $3,900 on FanDuel.
What about your boy Mo Wagner? Your boy. You can't be wearing Michigan apparel. You just got a ceiling game on a Mo Wagner against the Clippers. Now gets a date with Denver. That's not going to be especially hard against Zeke Naji. Any interest in Mo Wagner riding that train? 4,900 over on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think Mo Wagner is going to pick up more personal fouls and fantasy points versus Nikola Jokic tomorrow. So,
Well, I think Robin Lopez is probably going to go in that starting lineup. I'm obviously saying this with the assumption Davis Bertans is questionable, so I just want to let that be known. If he ends up not being able to play, I would definitely have some interest still in Mo Wagner there. Just wanted to give you the Michigan shout out. That's literally all I'm here to do is facilitate discussion.
Last time he played Denver, he only played 3 minutes, and they ruled Alex Len starting in the second half. Last time, I don't know if he didn't play more because of injury or for performance. I don't remember. It was on February 17th. It's something to take a look at the rotations there. So it might have been because of performance. And if Wagner has any sort of ownership, I'll be under, if not zero, just based off that indication.
Well, Paul Millsap was also probably in effect there at the given time. But anywho, just letting it be known, just a guy to throw out into the open there. Let's round it out here at center. Sitting on the top end, we'll finish out with FanDuel today. That seems like a weird thing to do. Nikola Jokic, 10,800 up against Washington. Very good at fantasy basketball. I mean, we just have so many studs between Giannis, Harden, Doncic, Jokic, Embiid, Vooch, all these guys. So, again, another slate with Jokic, Embiid, and Vooch on it. Unbelievable. You better get center right on FanDuel. I'm just going to throw that out there. 10-4, Joel Embiid up against Dallas. Nikola Vucevic, 9,900 up against Brooklyn. Like, the absolute nut matchup you can be in. I don't know. I'm going to probably I'd go Jokic 1, Vooch 2, Embiid 3. What do you think?
They're all interchangeable. I think Jokic for me definitely 1 versus this Washington team. And then I think Vooch 2, then Embiid 3. I think just because Vooch versus this Brooklyn front court, I think he could definitely do some work against them. He hasn't played them in a while, so the last time he played them was last year. But I think Embiid versus Washington on what was it last week? He put up 57.9 fantasy points at 10-8. Kind of too cheap. Jokic just earned a price tag to be in the 11s for sure. But if Embiid is going to come in low owned, definitely we can go to him. People might be scared off his 3 of 13 performance, but granted, he went to the line double-digit times. That's so nice to see from Embiid. He's gone to the line double-digit times almost every single time he's played for the last 8 times on the court. That is really impressive from Joel Embiid. He's just been a dominant player. If you guys didn't see, Brandon Marshall called Joel Embiid the best player in the league right now. That's kind of a hot take, but he has some valid points in that conversation. I think if Jeff Green doesn't play, they're going to need DeAndre Jordan as much as possible versus Vucevic. He's going to play mid 30 minutes. I think as a spend down, fully contrarian option should be considered. And I think on DK, obviously Giannis is the center eligible, which obviously adds some extra lineup flexibility. The savings to Jokic makes quite a bit of sense. $600 on this slate will have a clear meaning where you can upgrade some other players in other positions, but I think in some one pay down option to consider is Brook Lopez. I know he's not playing 30 minutes, but the guy can get hot. That's just like a pure GPV play. He's getting cheap now, $4,300. I think that's there's a path for him to pick up north of mid 20 fantasy points for sure. I think he's definitely in play. And I like Nerlens Noel, $4,800 versus Sacramento. If there's no such minutes limit, I think he should definitely be considered.
Last guy I'll throw in, just because it must be said, we had a Boban sighting at 3K, played 13 minutes. Willie Cauley-Stein played 24 minutes. And then Dwight Powell, who was 28 or 30% owned, I believe, in the DK main GPP, played 11 minutes as chalk, with James Johnson entering that rotation. So you have Porzingis questionable. You have Kleba, who's now going to be questionable again. So James Johnson, Willie Cauley-Stein, Powell, Marjanovic, hard to really extract any value there. I would probably rely most on 3,200 James Johnson, so long as he was still in that starting rotation. Played 28 minutes, so wanted to bring him up at power forward/center. Let that be known to kind of round out that. Otherwise, Rashawn Holmes, Hassan Whiteside, not that it matters, he's going to be out. This guy has been a headache for me. in general. But Rashawn Holmes, 6,400 over on FanDuel, played 26 minutes, now gets the New York front court. That's, Randall and Noel, a little bit undersized compared to what it would be if Robinson had been there, I guess. So maybe a tiny bit of Holmes sprinkled in just for good measure, but God, it's going to be hard to get away from those top three centers at the top of the board on FanDuel tomorrow. Talk to me. Well, let's just close this thing out. We cruised through that. We're at 25 minutes. Leah, do you have any parting words for the people?
No. Thanks so much for tuning in. Obviously, there's a lot of chalk that busted today, but we'll be back at it tomorrow. Hopefully, you guys dodged all the landmines. Maybe you guys got there today. If not, we're back at it tomorrow. Hopefully, one of you guys can take down something big. Outside of that, good luck, everybody.
I'm gonna have to come hold that mic for you tomorrow. That's kind of the goal for me, is to figure out. I was gonna say we got to keep it like either super close. You know what? I'm not even worried about it. It was a lot of fun with you, my dude. Always is. Let's get out of here. Have a good Thursday, everybody, and we'll see you for Friday's slate. Have a good one.